DSP cries it.
Hello, and welcome to James, the Lesser Express Lane, where we get you in and out as fast as possible with DSP is now going to be playing Baldurs Gate 3 because someone bought the game and donated it to him. And it won Game of the Year. Of course, according to DSP, it shouldn't. Let's watch.
That's what they're going for, okay?
This is from August 25th, 2023.
The other news story I have for you today is a little interesting. So originally, they announced that Baldurs Gate 3 was going to be PC exclusive for a month. And then I guess this month of September coming up, it's going to come out for PS5. But everyone was like, well, what happened to Xbox consoles? Why did they get the short end of the stick? Is it not coming out? So it has been announced. Yes, Baldurs Gate 3 will ship on Xbox this year. The Series X will maintain a split screen feature where two people can play at the same time co-op. However, the Series S will not have this feature. It is a compromise that has been made so that it can be ported to Xbox consoles. And the rumor is that's why they were saying that they weren't actually going to put it on Xbox consoles to begin with, because they said that I guess the S couldn't handle it. But now I guess they're saying, well, screw it. Just take the feature out of the S, but leave it on the X. I don't know. I guess this is a good thing. Here's the thing, though, all right? This is what a lot of people still don't understand. Right now, Baldurs Gate 3 is all the rage. And it's all the rage for good reason. Everyone who's playing it on PC is saying it's one of the best RPGs ever made, yada, yada. However, it's a PC-centric RPG. So, when you...
That's also on console. The PS5. Jackass.
Look at Baldurs Gate 3, you have to judge it in the same vein as games like Divinity, right? Or other similar...
Which was fucking amazing.
...titles. Baldurs Gate 3 is popular right now. But once Starfield hits, you're likely not going to hear anything about Baldur's Gate ever again.
Womp womp. How could you be any more fucking wrong? I want to punch him right in the face.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way of things. The console-centric games in this generation get all the press, get all the media attention, and get all the hype. Baldur's Gate 3, I'm glad got the coverage that it did, and that everyone has talked about it. I'm happy for that, and I'm glad that it sold like hotcakes on PC, and it was one of the highest played games, concurrent players, and all of that. But I hate to say it, these PC-centric RPGs do not get the traction of mainstream console RPGs. Even if they're better, they don't.
Yes, they do. One of the reasons for that is modding. Mods can completely change a game to how you want.
Get the traction. Do you remember when Divinity Original Sin 2 came out, and every PC player said, oh my god, it's the best game ever? Did it even get seriously considered for Game of the Year by anyone? Outside of the...
A lot of people did.
PC community, who was talking about it? And by the way, that game absolutely got ported to consoles. Did you hear hype for it? Did you hear buzz about it?
That's how I played it.
And again, there's nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? And again, and already you got idiots in the chat. I see he's already giving props to Starfield. I didn't say anything good about Starfield at all. I have not praised Starfield. I'm telling you like it.
You just said that no one's going to remember Baldur's Gate 3 when Starfield comes out. Which, womp womp, didn't happen.
Is console games that go mainstream get more media attention, get more press, get more publicity, and get more buzz, and get talked about, and even get considered for Game of the Year way more than PC-centric games. So you have to stop with the bullshit and understand the way of reality. It doesn't matter if you live in your PC bubble and all you do is play PC games, so that's all you hear about. That's not reality.
Reality is, it wasn't just on PC, though. You even said at the beginning that it's going to consoles. So it was not just PC only. Even if it was, it's still an amazing game.
Baldur's Gate 3 could literally be the best game of the decade, and it's still not going to get as much attention as a game like Starfield. Okay? You have to understand this, all right? So when I hear things like, oh, it was unfair that Xbox wasn't getting Baldur's Gate 3, but PlayStation is, you have to understand something. In 1 week's time, no one will be talking about Baldur's Gate 3 in the mainstream gaming media. It will have...
Oh, this aged like milk left out in the sun. Fucking hell, DSP.
The game never existed. Because all you're going to hear is Starfield, 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 and then Lies of P, Mortal Kombat, and then when October hits, all those new releases that are consoles. You're not going to hear Baldur's Gate 3 whispered once. You may hear it at the end of the year.
And yet it had so many fucking awards. It won a ton of awards. Sucks to be you, DSP.
As a Game of the Year contender, and it will not win Game of the Year. It's time to face the facts. This is how it is now, all right? These PC games do not get the hype anymore. I'm sorry. You can fool yourself as much as you would like into thinking one way or the other. But I'm telling you like it is, they don't get the attention anymore. They just don't. If it were a game that were mainstream across all platforms and getting all the
But it is across all platforms. And you know it's across all platforms. It's going to be on PC for a month, then it's going to PlayStation, then it's going to Xbox. Well, last time I checked, PlayStation, Xbox are consoles, jackass.
Hype and getting all the media attention, getting all that. Absolutely. But it's like I said a few months ago. This year, or not a few months ago, a few weeks ago. This year is a weird year. All right, and here's why. Because this year, everyone is playing their specific RPG that they love and claiming it's Game of the Year. This started with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Oh my God, Tears of the Kingdom, so much better than Breath of the Wild. It's innovative, it's amazing, it's gonna get Game of the Year. And
any other year, it probably would have. It's just unfortunate that it came out in the same year as Baldur's Gate 3.
then Diablo 4. Oh my God, Diablo
No one said that about Diablo 4. Not a single fucking person said that about Diablo 4.
4. It looks so good. It plays like old school Diablo. It's so good. It's a return to form. Diablo 4 is definitely getting Game of the Year. And then Final Fantasy 16. Oh my God.
No one said that about Final Fantasy 16.
Final Fantasy 16, finally appealing to the masses. They dumbed it down with an awesome combat engine now that plays like Devil May Cry. The graphics, ooh, the story, ooh, the adult story. There's swearing and sex and blood and gore. It's like Game of Thrones plus Final Fantasy. It's everything we ever wanted. Final Fantasy 16, the best game ever. Game of the Year.
What the fuck is wrong with that guy?
No one said that.
And then Baldur's Gate 3 came out. Do you understand that none of these games are going to... None of them are a shoo-in for Game of the Year. They can't be. You understand that, right? You get it. And it's insane because each little isolated community feels like their game is a shoo-in for Game of the Year. Wrong. Wrong. That's not how it works anymore. It's about the money. It's about the publicity. It's about the games media. That's really what gets games propelled into consideration for like a Game of the Year contention. Even if Starfield sucks ass, it's going to be Game of the Year contender. I kid you not. Even if it's a horrible, broken, buggy fucking mess of a piece of shit game, it will still be considered for Game of the Year.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Holy shit, DSP. I get it. Bethesda, the game is so easy, even I can play them, guys. It didn't. Holy shit, DSP. How can you be this wrong?
Yeah. But I really, really, really find it hard to believe that Baldur's Gate 3 would ever win a Game of the Year. It's a PC-centric game. And it's like people said, oh, well, it's going to come out on PS5. Oh, but it's coming out on Xbox. No one's going to talk about it. There's other games already coming out that will have all the hype by then. The only way Baldur's Gate 3 was going to get mainstream appeal is if it was all platforms at once in the middle of the summer. Then maybe. But it's too late. By the time it comes out on PS5, Xbox, people have moved on and they're playing other games. Baldur's Gate 3 is old news. They're not going to get hyped for the game 2-3 months later. That's not how it works.
Except they are. Because it's a fan-fucking-tastic game. It is one of the best reviewed games of all time. The reviews for it are off the fucking charts. And they only keep getting better as they keep coming out with more patches and stuff.
You know what they say? You always have a, you only have one chance for a first impression. Baldur's Gate 3 gave its first impression, and that impression was, it's a PC game. It's, you know, and again...
And now it's Game of the Year, bitches! Game of the Year, suck it.
I'm not talking shit about Baldur's Gate 3. I respect people who are liking it and enjoying it. If you think it's your Game of the Year, good for you. I'm happy you're enjoying it. It sounds to me like an amazing game. Sadly, it doesn't fit my content format, but it sounds like an amazing game that I hope you enjoy. But I'm just telling you like it is, and if you disagree, I mean, hey, listen. You can disagree, but I don't want to say I told you so at the end of this year. I really don't. All right? How often, at all, do PC-centric games win Game of the Year? Again, if it was going to happen, it would have been Divinity Original Sin 2. Did that get Game of the Year?
It could have. It was a really good game. Just because you hated it because you sucked at it doesn't hurt the game.
Astro Cyborg says The Witcher 3. Witcher 3 was all across the board, simultaneous release. It got hype on console as well as PC all at once. Everyone was hyped for it at the same time. That's why it got the mainstream appeal that it did. And even then, Witcher 3 didn't get as good as you thought it was. It wasn't until the Witcher TV show came out on Netflix and now it got mainstream attention that then people went back and bought the shit out of it. It wasn't until then.
Are you fucking kidding me? Witcher 3 was off the charts before the show came out. When the show came out, yes, more people bought it, But it already sold millions of copies, jackass.
Okay. Anyway. I'm happy that Starfield will be on Xbox. I just don't know if anyone's going to give a crap about... Excuse me, not Starfield. I'm happy that Baldur's Gate 3 will be on Xbox. I'm just not convinced that anyone's really going to care about it by the time that it comes out on there. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't think it's going to be a focus of any Xbox gamer. They're going to already be into this 100 other games that are coming out in the fall gaming season. No one's going to go back and say, oh, I've been waiting for Baldur's Gate. No, they've already heard about it and they moved on to play other games. That's why you need to have it come across all platforms, or what's the point? Okay. Alright, so...
Now
Let's
that
continue.
Baldur's Gate 3 has won Game of the Year, let's watch.
Well, except that I say this every year and no one listens to me, and everyone still judges the Game Awards as if it has some true bearing on the goodness of games, and they actually will rank their games based on what the Game Awards said won or lost. So I end up having to talk about it every year regardless. I really
Because the game he wants to win, Street Fighter, doesn't win. Womp womp.
wish that people would not give it as much weight or merit, because quite frankly, I feel like a lot of great games get overlooked and a lot of bad games get overhyped because the Game Awards are
Like Starfield got overhyped.
focused mostly on games journalism, which I completely disagree with. We've all been talking about how in the last 5+ years, there's been a big divide between common opinion of video games and what games journalists are saying about them. I mean, let's be honest, most average gamers probably play more games than game journalists these days. So how could they have a valid opinion more qualified than ours, right? Anyway, we're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss the elephant in the room. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you
God, he's so fucking annoying.
can believe it, the biggest surprise shocker ever just happened at the Game Awards 2023. Are you ready for this? This is what everyone wants me to talk about. This is the burning topic that must be addressed right now before we get to anything else. Game of the Year was not given to Starfield. And that is an absolute atrocity. We all know that Starfield was...
As we just saw, it's gonna win, it's gonna be a great game all the time. No one's gonna talk about any other game ever again when Starfield comes out. We just watched him say that. But guys, that was like a month ago. Actually, 3 months ago, whatever it was. But still, it doesn't matter. It's in the past, guys, so it doesn't count anymore.
definitively, without a doubt, without any kind of criticism or commentary possible, it was the indisputable best game of 2023, hands down. How could anyone possibly say something differently? And the fact that it didn't win Game of the Year just proves that it was complete sham. This is just a bunch of people who are trying to push agendas. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? We all know there's an Xbox tax out there. No matter what, if a game's exclusive to Xbox and not on PlayStation, it'll never win at the Game Awards, and that's
But it was also on PC, jackass. That's how I played it.
just a bunch of baloney. Of course, I'm being completely facetious with that. That's complete bullshit, right?
Yeah, except we saw your statements earlier, so you probably truly believe that. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
What's funny to me, all right, this year, is that, and I said this earlier this year, and I'll reiterate, and I'm basically going to address what people want me to address, but it's not intelligent people who want me to address this, sadly.
No one saw you chat like that.
Basically, this year was a year when there were so many games that when they came out, everyone was just so sure that they were going to be Game of the Year this year. Are you ready to go through the list of games? You know, first we started off with Resident Evil 4 Remake. Oh my god, this game is so good.
It was a remake. It was never going to win Game of the Year.
I can't believe that this game would not be Game of the Year. And then it was Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Wow, it blows away Breath
It would have won if Baldur's Gate 3 didn't come out this year.
of the Wild. It's so many innovations and so many new things. I can't believe this game wouldn't be Game of the Year. And then it was Final Fantasy 16. Oh my.
No one said that. Not a single fucking person said that. I don't even think the people who developed the game said that.
God, it's the best Final Fantasy ever. Amazing music, great visuals. It's a great story. I can't believe it. The best game of the year. And then Baldur's Gate 3 came out. Oh my God, it's the best RPG ever made. Fan service out the wazoo. They really put attention to detail. There's no way it can't be Game of the Year. And it just kept continuing all year, right? And the funny part was, every time that this happened, I called it out. And I was like, you guys realize...
You called it out for the games you didn't want to play. Like Baldur's Gate 3.
Just go back. You'll hear me saying, you guys realize not
Again, we just watched that video, so you can shut the fuck up about this.
every major RPG and or release this year can be Game of the Year. But that's how everyone is acting. There's all these different pocketed fan groups who are all acting like no matter what, their game is going to get Game of the Year. And at that point, when all this was happening, because I specifically remember there was a particular podcast where I addressed it, I said, you have to understand something. There's absolutely no way all these games can win Game of the Year. In fact, I would bet a lot of these wouldn't even get nominated. Now, in that regard, I guess I was wrong, because if you actually look at the games that got Game of the Year nominations, it's pretty much every game that had a major fan base, except for a couple, which we'll talk about in a second, okay? So, when we got to that point, I basically made a statement, and I was like, listen, you guys got to understand something. At that point, Baldur's Gate 3 was only on PC. There actually hadn't even been an announcement of when it was coming to console yet.
Bullshit! We just watched him say that it was coming to PlayStation 5 a month later, and then it was going to be on X and S, but the S version was not going to have the couch co-op. We just watched him say that.
And everyone on PC loved it. But I said, you got to understand something. There's a couple factors here. Number one, if it's only a PC game, that's an isolated audience. If it's not mainstream available, there's going to be people who are not going to be able to play the game. That's going to be a hard sell for Game of the Year. You know, take a look at previous years, a game like Divinity 2, right? Which was
fucking amazing.
Absolutely praised and loved. But a lot of people never even talked about it.
But he hated it.
Because it was PC only for the longest time until it finally got console ports. Right? I mean, that's a sure case of that from the past. Now, in addition to that, at that time, because we're talking around the summertime, there were still big releases on the horizon, like Starfield and Spider-Man 2 and a few others that people were eyeballing, and particularly, it was actually Starfield that we were eyeballing at that time. And we were like, well, if this game...
We got a mouse in your pocket?
...absolutely lives up to all of the promises that are made about this game, okay? Absolutely, this game could be Game of the Year shoo-in, right? It's a make-or-break game for Bethesda. They've had a bunch of bad, disappointing outings right before this, correct? I mean, take a look at, they had Redfall, which was absolutely terrible under Arcane Studios. They had Fallout 76, which was an atrocity at launch, and to this day it has an online player base, but nowhere near what they were originally wanting for the game because it flopped at launch. Fallout 4 had a bunch of major criticisms, and the fact they just keep re-releasing Skyrim and not putting out anything new, this was the big one that they were hinging everything on, and everyone was kind of, you know, once we saw that presentation, do you remember? Was it around Summer Games Fest, I want to say? They showed some stuff, people were like, all right, we're starting to feel more positive about this game, right? And basically,
Let me know about that mouse.
Here's the thing. Starfield was going to be PC and Xbox, right, at launch. And with that media hype behind it and everything, you're like, wow. The common feeling was that it was kind of a wait and see. At that point, I told you, I thought for me all year, I was thinking Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, or Starfield. At that point.
Nope. You did not think Baldur's Gate 3 had its fucking chance. You said, a week from now, when Starfield comes out, no one's going to ever remember that game exists.
That was my thought. Those are going to be the big three that'll likely be contention for Game of the Year. But knowing how journalists lean towards Nintendo, because I never thought that Breath of the Wild would have won, and it did, okay? And knowing how journalists
Breath of the Wild was fucking awesome.
And if Starfield was good, then we probably would have leaned right towards that. You know what I'm saying? I thought for sure those would have gotten favor, okay? But here's what happened. Let's be honest. Starfield's not...
Be honest, guys. The games I wanted to win, like Starfield and Street Fighter, aren't the great games.
Very good, right? Starfield is a huge disappointment. I mean, I talked about it in the credits of the playthrough. I gave you my review of it. It's just incredibly underwhelming. Doesn't live up to any of the promises. Actually looks like more like a joke than anything else. Looks like a photocopy of previous games they've made. And how when you make a copy of a copy of a copy, it starts to lose its focus, its sharpness. It looks more blurry and fuzzy and shitty. And that's exactly what Starfield looks like. When you made the same game 10 times, the 10th iteration isn't as good as the first 3. Everyone wants to go back and play the 3 classics. I don't want to play the 10th clone. And that's exactly what Starfield feels like. It lost its unique identity along the way of being an awesome Bethesda RPG and just feels like, oh, paint by numbers. And that's bad. So,
a lot of people were expecting that. That's why, outside of you, DSP, not a lot of people were expecting it to be Game of the Year. Me included. I didn't think for a chance it was going to be Game of the Year. I didn't even think it'd be getting nominated. You know why? Because it's just a general Bethesda game. Thankfully, no one was going to be a general Bethesda game. I went in with those kind of expectations. It's not going to be the greatest game of all time. It's not going to be something that's 10 out of 10. Oh my god, if you die before you play this game, you should come back to life and play just for that. Don't talk to your relatives. Fuck your relatives. You got to play this game. It is just that amazing. Unlike DSP, I didn't think that. I didn't feel that. I knew it was just gonna be another Bethesda game. And it was. And you know what? Like Bethesda games, you'll like it.
Because of that, alright? That completely changed the landscape of what possibly would have been considered Game of the Year. honestly, I was shocked when Alan Wake 2 got nominated for Game of the Year. Personally, I loved Alan Wake 2, and I was very happy to see it get all the recognition it did last night at the Game Awards. That was really nice to see that game that normally a game like that would have been overlooked, but it got...
What I like, it was his day off. He watched it, but he didn't live react. He could have live reacted to it, but nope. It's my day off, guys. I can't change my schedule. Where's Avatar? Oh, you changed your schedule.
Tons of recognition. I was like, wow, I'm shocked it got as much as it did. But then when it got nominated, I was like, could it possibly win? I don't think so. I didn't ever really felt like it could. Spider-Man 2, I never thought was going to win, honestly. Like, I would have had my jaw dislocate and jump out of my skin and land on the floor if that won, because journalists just aren't about the superhero games. They're just not, you know? But once, essentially, Starfield sucked and was not even nominated for Game of the Year, yeah, I think that the top two games that it was between was Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3. And
Except, A, you hated Baldur's Gate 3 without even playing it because you know it's like Divinity Original Sin 2, which you hated. Also, you said it would be forgotten about. There was no, I thought that when Starfield sucked, it had a chance. No, you didn't. You never thought it had a chance because you never fucking played the game.
But the funny part is, people out there who are morons like to take one moment in time and act like that moment in time is eternal, that nothing ever changes. If you take my quote from many months ago that said, Baldur's Gate 3 is not going to win Game of the Year because it's PC-centric, and right now with everything else going on, those other games, like I even said, Starfield is a shoo-in for Game of the Year if it's as good as people are saying it's going to be. And what happened? Well, Baldur's Gate 3 released for console, people absolutely loved it on console, and it got more mainstream attention than it had before. Starfield came out and flopped. No one likes it. Only a very hardcore fan base of Bethesda and Xbox players are all over it. Everyone else is like, wow, what a disappointment. Didn't even get nominated for Game of the Year. So basically exactly the qualifying situation that I considered to happen, happened. And now Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of the... Like I said, it was either between Baldur's Gate 3 or Zelda. I really was worried. Because you guys know me, I didn't love Zelda that much. I didn't. I thought that Zelda was a good game, but
You weren't smart enough to play it. Just like you're not smart enough to play Baldur's Gate 3.
I didn't love it, and I disagreed with Breath of the Wild winning Game of the Year many years ago. And I was like, dude, if Zelda wins, this is going to be bullshit, because there's so many better games this year better than Zelda. Thank God that didn't win, right? But that's absolutely what I said would happen, is now it would be between those two games. But no one will say that. No one will look at my opinions from, like, the last...
We just watched the video. You said, and I quote, no one's going to remember Baldur's Gate 3 after Starfield comes out.
Couple of weeks to months and take that as fact. They just want to go back 5-6 months before any of this information was available when I made a prediction back then and say that was my prediction. It's wrong. Yes, my outdated prediction before Starfield came out, before Baldur's Gate 3 hit console, was wrong. You're right. Once more data was given, I changed my prediction. But why don't you talk about that? Because you're a bunch of fucking morons. And all you want to do is talk about Phil was wrong, Phil was wrong. Nobody cares.
Because you were wrong. We just watched a video of you being wrong. Shut the fuck up. Alright, well, this has already been going on long enough. I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for watching. As always, Bethesda sucks. Go Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you guys for watching. As always, like, subscribe, comment down below, and have one hell of a day. And play Baldur's Gate 3. It's awesome.